in 1983. In 1983, and I was really lucky. No, I got mixed up. That was another time. In 1978, before I even became a Baal Tshuva, I did Ibudadut. Now I knew I was getting close to Hashem. I was in Mount Sinai. It was before we gave Sinai back to the Egyptians, and I was right before, and I was. It was my area. I was in charge of this area for about 6 weeks, and it was like Gan Eden. And every day I got the guys, and when I was my time off, I would go up to Mount Sinai, and the top of Mount Sinai, it's amazing. This is what the top of Mount Sinai looks like in the morning. You can yeah, Baruch Hashem.
So you're like Moshe Rabbeinu now.
Live footage, almost live footage.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be with everyone. It's too bad. The next best thing, we had plans. We had beautiful plans to come to Mexico City, and I love Mexico City. The last time, where was it? Where was it? By your house, David, or by Pepe, that they put a big sombrero on me?
That was the first time you came, Rabbi.
That was the first time. Okay.
I still have the picture, so if you want, I'll send them to you.
Oh, please do. Please do.
What? Yes, you have you're drinking a cup of tequila.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Anyway, good. So, David, I tell you what. Why don't you be master of ceremonies, okay? And whenever you get started, I suggest we do like this. I suggest that I will speak for about 3/4 of an hour, and then give everyone a chance to ask questions, okay? It'll be at least 15 minutes, and we're not holding the stop button. If we go over an hour, that's no problem, okay? Send the bill to Hashem. Okay, He pays all the bills.
Okay.
Right? And we can see, like, Hashem is showing everyone that He runs the show. And this is beautiful.
100%.
This is what everyone is learning now for Hashem. And so we'll talk a little bit about that too. A little bit of current events. You can't have a show with me without current events and where we are, and get an Amunah view on this makes life so much more meaningful.
Okay. Perfect. Rabbi, also,
I suggest, David, tell people that while they are, sure, if they have something in their head, they should send you a chat message. David, yo quiero se preguntar, okay? A pregunta, and write it down what it is, and then you monitor afterwards. You can pick it out, and the person that wants to ask a question, either unmute them or you ask the question, that one wants to ask, okay? And whatever you like it, and I'm fluid. I'm flowing with my brothers and sisters in Mexico City, Baruch Hashem, and I'm glad to be with you on your prime time. It's a delight to be with you, okay?
Thank you, Rabbi. Also, let me tell you what we learned today for your next talk, Bezrat Hashem. Now they can do simultaneous translations. Okay, we weren't able to do it right now, but for the next time, Bezrat Hashem will have it, so it'll be easier. Okay, so
David, don't be embarrassed if somebody interrupts every once in a while and doesn't understand something, and to come and unmute yourself and tell me you want to translate for someone or something. Okay, in other words. If you feel at home, okay?
Okay.
And the good thing about the screen is that they can't throw tomatoes at me, okay?
Right, exactly. Okay, so right now my 4 friends, they're also panelists, so they can also interrupt if anything they need, okay? And so if you're ready, we might as well start, or what do you want to do, Moshe?
Just who should I say hello to? I don't see everybody. Okay.
We haven't accepted them yet. That's why.
Okay, Good. Well, why don't you, okay, Baruch Hashem.
We want to start? Chava, empezamos?
Whenever you want.
Moshe,
Yeah, go ahead,
Isaac.
make an introduction, and we'll go.
Okay. Okay, go. Hashem illuminate you, Rabbi, as always.
Thank you. Amen.
Tú me dices, Chava, cuando estés listo.
Adelante.
¿Ya listo?
Ya, lo vimos.
Está bien. Hola a todos, muy buenas noches. Estoy muy feliz y muy contento de tener la oportunidad hoy, ¿sí? De tener esta conversación. Ahorita ya lo voy a hablar en inglés para que nos entienda Rabino. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart to my partners in Gesed Mexico. You know who you are, that you've been on my side of all these years. It's been 11 years, 10 years now. And also to Rabbi Mordechai and Moises Tusie, Isaac Siton, and Chava, and all of their group that Hashem put us together that we can bring more emunah to Mexico. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And well, you didn't come to listen to me, so I just want to say something very fast. In January 2011, Rabbi Brody first made his wonderful trip to Mexico. He was supposed to be here 2 weeks ago, but God had another plan, okay? But thanks to Hashem at the Zoom, we have the privilege to hear and see a man that, for me, he's my big brother. He has changed my life, and I hope he changes yours. Rabbi, welcome to Mexico. Good morning in Israel. It's showtime.
Buenos días, todos mis hermanos, mis hermanas. Excúsame, yo estudio español en la universidad, pero no hablo aquí en Israel. Entonces, se me olvidó en todo, as I'm going to speak English, okay? Baruch Hashem. With Hashem's loving grace, by the grace of Hashem, I'm delighted to be, it's as I'm right here with you, wherever we are, when our hearts are together, we are together. Thank you for the warm introduction, David. And one thing David said that's very accurate, Hermano Medeiros David is my brother, like everybody else with Baruch Hashem. Thank you. And I thank Hashem for having such lovely brothers and sisters. That one thing, I don't know what I do and what I don't do. One time I gave a lecture and somebody came up to me after the lecture. It was here in Israel. And he said to me, he says, Rabbi, you're not very smart. I said, never said I was. Okay. But Baruch Hashem, he says, but I enjoyed the lecture. Okay. There's one thing I enjoyed the lecture because one thing, I have one quality where I love my brothers and sisters, Baruch Hashem. That's all of you. All right. So that's from mi hermano to tu hermano. Okay. From mi corazón to corazón. Todo la corazón. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi. Let me interrupt a minute, please. If todo mundo, el que quiera hacer preguntas, por favor, escríbanlo por el chat, ¿ok? Y nosotros vamos a poder al final contestar los que más podamos, ¿ok? Con el Rab. Y si tienen alguna idea, apúntenlo al ladito y al final lo trataremos de llegar a todas las preguntas que tengan. Okay, Rabbi, there you go. It's your show. Your show.
All right. We can continue, David? Okay, very good. Very good. Today, Be'ezrat Hashem, we are going to learn about how to enhance our personal potential. One thing the psychologists teach you, that the average human only utilizes about 10% of his or her own personal potential. And we're going to learn how to utilize that. There's one thing I want to precede that. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, he teaches us a lesson in the very first chapter of Likutei Moharan. Rabbi Nachman says, Tzerich lirot b'chochma shekol davar, that we have to look at the divine wisdom in every creation. Now, the divine wisdom, the Torah is divine wisdom from the beginning to the end. Rabbi Nachman, even after he says that, he says this is second best. We look into creation and you see divine wisdom. But if a person wants to get divine wisdom intravenously, a direct injection of divine wisdom, then we go into the Torah. Okay, so we go into the Torah in the book of Ruth. The book of Ruth teaches how to fulfill our personal potential, and that is what we're going to learn today. And based on is a perpetuation of Shavuot, and to make the book of Ruth and Shavuot personal for me. People think, oh, this is something that happened 2,500 years ago, and what's a connection to me? No, this is about each one of our lives. Okay, so now I want to prophet with one thing. There is a kosher fish, and a kosher fish has fins and scales. This the Torah tells us the difference between a kosher fish and not kosher fish. How come a shark is not kosher? Because it doesn't have, it's got fins, but it doesn't have scales. And some other fish that maybe they don't have either one, like an eel. But if we look at the type of fish that swim upstream against the water flows this way, they fish this way. We know the most famous fish is a salmon, swims upstream. Another type of fish that swims upstream is a trout. Another type of fish that swims upstream is a fish that you can find in Hawaii. It's called a goby. And the common denominator between the types of fish that swim upstream, they're all kosher fish. So what do we learn from that? Kosher fish swims against the current. Where do we get this? This is allegorical. Avram Avinu, our sages say, Echad haya Avram. Our sages tell us that Abraham was one. And why is he called Ivri? Ivri means from Aver, the other side of the river. But Abraham stood on one side of the river and the rest of the world on the other side of the river. They were all flowing with the stream. The world was immoral. They were immoral. The world had idolatry. They had idolatry. The world was full of debauchery. They were full of debauchery, not Abraham. Abraham had one God, and he had one morality. And the Midrash tells us that Abraham knew the whole Torah before it was given, but his entire life was a story of struggle. We learn about the 10 nisyonos, the 10 trials of faith that Abraham had, and he passed every single one. We read every morning the Akedah, and we read this on the high holidays about when Abraham, is most difficult test of faith was the 10th test of faith when he had to sacrifice his son on the altar on Isaac. Abraham went against the current. Going against the current makes you strong. That's why salmon is very strong. And with salmon, it's a very prestigious fish. You have a nice big salmon on your Shabbat table. This is very, to honor the Shabbat and honor the guests. Ruth, she went against the current. And Ruth, against the current, she was just like Abraham. Now, in fact, according to Kabbalah, this is so interesting. You know, when you get into Torah, you don't need Hollywood. You take the best Hollywood screenwriter, the best movie in Hollywood. It can't get to the toenails of the beginning of Torah. You see, I'll give a background of the book of Ruth to catch everybody up. But first I wanted to say one thing. Ruth, she is a descendant of Lot. Lot was Abraham's nephew. In other words, Lot's father, Haran, and Abraham were brothers. Haran, he went with the flow. Now Haran got killed. Why did he get killed? Abraham, when he threw away all the idols, and he broke his father's idols, and Nimrod was the king, and idolatry, this was political correctness, and this was official policy. And if a person didn't do idolatry, get thrown in jail. Nobody ever heard. There was no such thing person with jail. Everybody did idolatry. Abraham was the first one that said there's one God, that the idols, it's all a lie. So what they did, they took Abraham and they put him in a fiery furnace. Well, he came out unscathed. Well, meanwhile, Haran, he was a politician. Haran said, well, if Abraham, my brother, gets burned, then I'm going to say, Nimrod, okay, yeah, I believe in your idols. And if Abraham comes out, then I'm going to say, no, I go with my brother. I believe like my brother. So asked Haran, well, where do you hold? He says, well, I believe like my brother. And they threw him in the fiery furnace and he got burned. Okay, he got burned. Why? He did not deserve the divine protection because he didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve it. It was politically, he wasn't ideology. Like Abraham had clear ideology. Ruth had clear ideology. Now, the way Lot's children came into life, this was something we know when Sodom was destroyed and Lot left Sodom with his two daughters. His wife, she was destroyed on the way out of Sodom because she had no right to look back. And when she looked back to see other people getting destroyed, she wasn't saved because of her virtue. She was saved because she was Lot's wife. And Lot was saved not because of his virtue, because of his uncle, Abraham. That Hashem didn't want Abraham to be sad, and Hashem didn't want Abraham to mourn for his nephew. So by virtue of Abraham, Lot was saved. Lot's life was saved twice by virtue of Abraham, because another time there was a war in Sodom when Nimrod and his 3 other kings attacked the 5 kings then of Canaan, land of Israel. One was the king of Sodom, and Lot was taken captive. Abraham went to war in order to free Lot, and Abraham won the war, and he freed Lot. So Lot got his life handed to him as a gift twice because of his uncle. And we'll later see where it comes from. This is so interesting. I'm going to go slowly because this is the background to the book of Ruth. Abraham and Lot. Okay, so Lot leaves Sodom and he goes into a cave with his 2 daughters. And Lot finds a barrel of wine, a cask of wine, and he drinks wine, he gets drunk, and he goes to sleep. And his 2 daughters, they say, look, they thought the whole world was destroyed, not just they saw that the hellfire and the brimstone had burned all of Sodom and burned all of Gomorrah and burned all the Dead Sea area. The Dead Sea, nothing grows there because of Sodom and Gomorrah, because of what Hashem destroyed it back there. Okay, so they thought the whole world was destroyed. So they say, well, who's going to continue on the human race? So what they did is their father was drunk and they enticed their father. One night, the father was with the older daughter, okay, and from that daughter was born Moab. And then the second night, the daughter was with the second daughter, and from that came Ammon. All right, Ammon and Moab. Okay, Ruth is a Moabitess. Ruth came from this incestual relationship of Lot's nephew. Okay, according to Kabbalah, Ruth had a tiny spark of Abraham. A spark of Abraham was captured within the offspring, and she took this to Moab. Okay, meanwhile, the Torah says, fast forward, Torah says that was given on Mount Sinai, and we will soon celebrate the Torah on the 6th of Sivan, which is this Thursday night and Friday. Thursday night, we'll stay up all night long, we'll learn Torah, and it commemorates reception of the Torah. And you will see in today's lesson why we commemorate the Torah, because it's personal. It talks to each one of us. And the Gemara tells us that when we make our own personal celebration of Torah, it's as if we received it on Mount Sinai. You see right here in the background, this is Mount Sinai. I'm on the top of Mount Sinai, right? Okay, this is Mount Sinai, and this is where Moses received Torah, and this is where we're all going to receive Torah. Baruch Hashem. When you can see that the Torah is mine, it belongs to me, it talks to me. I can see myself in Abraham, I can see myself in Ruth, I can see myself in every capital of Tehillim by David HaMelech. Okay, so Ruth, she had a spark of Abraham. Now Abraham was a kosher fish. Abraham went against the current. Everybody flowed this way, Abraham went here. Everyone went according to political correctness, not Abraham. He went according to truth. In Ruth's generation, it was the same thing. Ruth also went against the current. So here we see that Ruth, she's in Moab, and Ruth has a sister called Orpah. Ruth and her sister, Orpah, They're the daughter of Eglon, the king of Moab. The daughter of Eglon, king of Moab. So meanwhile, you have a kingly family in the land of Israel, in Ephrat, which is right south of Jerusalem, near Beit Lechem, Ephrat, Beit Lechem, from the most prestigious tribe, the tribe of Judah, and the family of Ephrat, the Ephrati, and this was Elimelech. Elimelech had a first cousin named Boaz. Boaz is also known as Ibzan. Boaz, he was the judge of, he was the great, the big chacham of the generation and the tzaddik of the generation. Okay, he was the judge of the generation. This was a really low time in the history of Israel. And that's why the Megillah starts out, Vayehi b'yamei shvot hashoftim. Vayehi is a language of sorrow. That was a sorrowful time. Not only that, it was a time of famine, a time of poverty. Now, Elimelech, he had tons of money. He had tons of money. He was a big, rich man. And every day, there are people knocking on his door, morning and night. Elimelech, I've got nothing to eat. Elimelech, I've got 10 kids. Elimelech, I've got here, Elimelech, here, asking. And he said to his wife, he says, I'm sick and tired of these people knocking on my door, these beggars. So what do you mean sick and tired? This is the exact opposite of what a Jewish characteristic should be. A Jewish characteristic be that we love to give tzedakah. And we know that what we have, Hashem gives us. And we have to share with other people. And we're happy to do that mitzvah. We're happy to share that with other people. So he says to his wife, Naomi, pack your bags. We're taking our 2 sons, Machlon and Kilion, and we're going to Chutz La'aretz. So they said, no, he took all his money and he left Beit Lechem and he crossed the Jordan border. Until then, it wasn't Jordan, it was in Moab. And they sojourned, they made a journey, and they finally went to the capital city, and they settled in capital city. And Kilion and Machlon, they met the daughters of the king. And they came, they said, well, these are from the Judeans and from a very privileged family. So Eglon, the king of Moab, agreed that his daughters should marry their sons because they were also from a priestly family. And Eglon was, even though he was a king, he was from, he knew where he came from. He knew he came from Lot. And these were Abraham's direct descendants. Okay, so he agreed. But the girls didn't do, they remained Moabites. Machlon and Kilion, when they got married, they married out of the religion. This was before Ruth became a convert. Okay, so look what Hashem does. This is one of the first lessons of the book of Ruth is divine providence. Hashgacha pratit. You cannot escape from Hashem. If a person leaves Eretz Yisrael and he comes to Mexico City, I want to give this as good news. It's good news, okay? You have the same Hashem in Mexico City that you do here in Eretz Yisrael. And there's the same Hashem in Panama as in Eretz Yisrael, and the same Hashem in Miami, and the same Hashem in Los Angeles, and the same Hashem in Toronto, and the same Hashem in Hong Kong, okay? It's funny, and I remember when the first time I was in Singapore. Singapore is the lowest part of the northern hemisphere, right below Singapore because of the southern hemisphere. And I was on an island in Singapore. I was talking to Shem, man, I said, this is fantastic. Here I'm in Singapore, and I'm so many, like 20 hours away from home. And here's Hashem, he's right here. Hashem's in Singapore too. Okay, wherever you are, you can talk to Hashem, wherever you are, you can have a relationship with Hashem. But you have to know, some people think they can run away from Hashem, and you can't run away from Hashem. Elimelech thought he could run away from Hashem. Can't run away from Hashem. So Elimelech didn't want to share his money with the poor people. So Elimelech, look what happened to him. And this is something that's amazing. It's something you have to stop and think. Elimelech not only lost his money, Elimelech lost his life. Elimelech lost Machlon, his first son. Elimelech lost Kilion. Okay, Naomi was left with no husband, no sons, no money. and with her 2 daughters-in-law. Okay, Naomi was now destitute. She was poor. She had nothing left. And this is what Naomi says, I left full and I'm left with nothing. The Midrash tells us that Naomi was barefoot. She didn't even have shoes. Okay, so now she says, I have nothing left. And she has her 2 daughter-in-laws, Ruth and Orpah. And the 2 girls, for Moabite girls, they had good character traits. They had very good character traits. Okay, so they said to Naomi, we're not going to leave you. Now, just look, I know I get lots of questions for people with family problems and difficulties. Now, usually daughters-in-law, it's not an easy thing to have a daughter-in-law. Okay, if you've got married sons, then you know what daughter-in-laws are. Okay, and if you're a daughter-in-law, you know it's not easy to get along with your mother-in-law. Okay, usually, heaven forbid, if a woman should lose her husband, then, okay, she's got a little connection with the mother-in-law. If she's got children, okay, the mother-in-law is a grandmother, all right? But usually the connection weakens. And if she doesn't have kids, she's down the road. She has no more connection with the mother-in-law. So this was really a good show of Ruth's character. And we see apparently of Orpah's character that they keep connection with their mother-in-law. So Naomi says, I have nothing left to stay here. I'm going back. She heard that the famine ended in the land of Israel. And you have to understand the whole famine in the land of Israel was to get Elimelech to leave. And to get Elimelech, why get Elimelech to leave? Because Elimelech, Hashem used his bad choices to do good. And we'll see how Hashem fools the Satan, the Yetzer Hara, to bring Mashiach. This is all Hashem's plan and bringing Mashiach. This is all a plan just to bring Ruth back, because you have to understand, keep in mind that Ruth is the great-grandmother of Mashiach. Without Ruth, there's no Mashiach. And look what Hashem does. Hashem brings Mashiach through the seed of Lot. What are you talking about? This is crazy. This goes to show you something else. That no matter how low a person's beginning, a person can't say, no, I can't learn Torah. My father's not a rabbi. My father's not a Rosh Hashiva. If your father is a coal miner, if your father is a day worker, if you grow up in the worst house, in the worst pueblito, and your father's a bandito, you can learn Torah. You can learn Torah. Why? We have even one of our great sages of Torah. He was a bandito, Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish, he was a chavrus of Reb Yochanan. Not only that, he married Reb Yochanan's sister. So he was also a gladiator in the arena. And he came and he learned to use his power, his courage, the gladiator could come to learn Torah. And it's you go, I want to keep concentrated, but I want to tell the young people that are listening to us, Torah is cool. You don't need Hollywood, you don't need Mundial, and you're into Torah, wow, you love Torah. But the point is, people don't know how to learn Torah to make it alive. Okay, so stay Baruch Hashem, we like to teach Torah, make it alive. You can see it. It's so fascinating. So here, Naomi says to her 2 daughters-in-law, go back, you're the daughters of a king. Even if I get married again and I have kids, you can't wait for my next son, because then they used to do Levirate marriages. What's a Levirate marriage? It means that if an older brother died, then the wife would wait and marry a younger brother. But Naomi had no younger kids. So she says to the 2 daughter-in-laws, even if I would be with a man tonight and I would give birth to a baby tonight, then you can't wait for him to grow up. You can't just sit and dry up. This is your young years. Go back. And they cried, no, we want to stay with you. Naomi says, no, go back. She's discouraging them. Go back. This is Hashem discouraging. Orpah hugged her mother, and she hugged her mother-in-law, and she kissed her, and she decided to go back. Okay. Ruth said, no. Ruth's famous expression, where you go, I go. Your people are my people. Your God is my God. At that night, when Ruth clung to Naomi, this was when Ruth made her commitment to convert. Naomi told her Ola Torah. She had a formal conversion as soon as she came to the land of Israel. Okay, Ruth became a Jew. And this was against all odds. You have to understand, why do we say that Ruth was a salmon like Abraham? She went upstream. When Ruth became a convert, it was known that halacha never heard of a Moabitess coming into the Jewish people. They were not allowed. Okay. But the Beis Din, the Shmuel Hanavi, Samuel the prophet is Beit Din. Samuel the prophet wrote the book of Ruth, not to tell the story of Ruth, but as a psak halacha, that there was a court case from Doeg, Edomi. Doeg was an evil guy, but he was a big Talmid Chacham. So it shows that some people can learn Torah, but they can learn their Torah for the purpose of evil. And Doeg, he had a question. He said, David, he can't be the king of Israel because his great-grandmother was who came from Moab. But then Shmuel's Beis Din, Samuel was still alive at the time, Samuel's Beis Din said that you're talking about a Moabite and not a Moabitess. And this is halacha, okay? That a Moabite cannot come in to the Jewish people for 10 generations. Ammonite cannot come into the Jewish people for 10 generations. And 10 generations means forever. They cannot get accepted. But a Moabitess, a female, yes. Not a male from that, but a female, yes. This is the Ruth's testimony, is Boaz, Shmuel Hanavi wrote this to show that this is halacha. And this is the way Boaz, who was also the religious court judge, the head judge of the generation, Ed Tzaddik generation, this was his decision. He himself married Ruth. And you can imagine having a girl come from some pueblito in Mexico City, and she comes to Eretz Yisrael, and she converts, and she becomes a house cleaner in the home of Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, and he ends up marrying her. This is, what are you crazy? This sounds like, do you think somebody smokes hash or some kind of drugs or something? No, this is the book of Ruth. This shows you, what does this show you? This shows you that no matter who you are, no matter what your background is, you can be the greatest person in the generation. This is the potential of every neshama. Your neshama is a tiny spark of Hashem. We look in your name, the holiness of your name, the holiness of every letter of Torah. This will be talking about this coming Wednesday in Miami, virtual Miami. Okay, but the name, your name has Hashem. You have your neshama as a tiny spark of Hashem. So if you have in you a tiny spark of Hashem, don't sell yourself cheap. You could be great. And where do you learn this? You learn this from Ruth. So Ruth, okay, yeah, she came from a kingly family, but now she clung to Naomi, and she took upon the same poverty. She's also barefoot, and she also just has the shirt on her back because her father said to her, you want to go with her? You go with her. Orpah, she went back to the palace. Wow. Now we have a contrast, and this is the whole theme of the book of Ruth. We have Abraham's offspring, and we have Lot's offspring. We have Orpah, contrast to Ruth. We have the Jewish people, contrast to the Moabite people. We have the war between promiscuity and modesty. And we have the war between selfishness and altruism. We see the selfishness of Elimelech. We see the altruism of Boaz. Boaz, when Ruth and her mother-in-law, they come, and Naomi, she of course is family. Her husband was Boaz's first cousin, and Boaz sees they were very poor coming back, and Boaz said to Ruth, you can glean in my field. In other words, what does it mean to glean? It's when the pickers, they harvest the grain, and sheaves of grain, they fall on the ground. The Torah says that you have to leave this. You're not allowed to collect this, the fallen grain. You have to leave it for the poor people. So he allowed Ruth to come into his field, and he let her drink water with his workers. He let her eat with the workers. He was very kind to her. And he did, in the extreme kindness, he ended up marrying her in the end of the Megillah, okay? And from their marriage, okay, they had a son, and the son's name was Oved. And from Oved came Yishai, the father of David. And from Yishai came David, Ruth's great-grandson, who was King David, who also was a salmon who went against the stream and everything else. Nobody in history had a more difficult life than King David. against all odds. Now, if I would rename the book of Ruth to a Hollywood movie, I would call it Against All Odds, because Ruth went against all odds. Meanwhile, let's see what happened to Orpah. Orpah went back, and Orpah took off her poor clothes, and she says, "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I'm back in the palace." Oh, come on. She had a nice bath, and she got in her discotheque clothes. That night, she went to dance in the discotheque in Moab, and she had a fling. She had a good time. A good time. The Midrash tells us, if the Midrash didn't say this, I couldn't tell you this. Okay. But the Midrash said that night, all right, that night she went out on the town and she had a fling with 1,000 Moabite guys. Okay, guys, I'm back in here. Here's Orpah, the king's daughter, Princess Orpah, and she's the flash dancer, wearing these flash dance guys. Guess what? She got pregnant that night. And guess who was born that night? 9 months later, Goliath. Orpah was the mother of Goliath. Now we'll see later where Goliath is this big old giant, and King David is a little bar mitzvah boy, and they fight each other. This comes back again. It's unbelievable. The undercurrents, according to Kabbalah, and the corrections of souls. I would need 5 hours right now to tell you about just an overview of what's going on here. Okay, but it's such an eye opener. And Ruth became the great grandmother of King David, because Ruth was a salmon. She went against the current. She, according to Kabbalah, she uplifted the spark of Abraham that got lost in the Ammonite and Moabite nation amongst Lot's offspring. Okay, she brought it back into Eretz Yisrael, and she uplifted it, and this was the spark of Mashiach. Now just look at what Hashem has to do to the evil inclination in order to bring Mashiach. If we go all the way back to the beginning of time, and they come from the tribe of Judah. Do you remember that Judah got married, and he had sons, and his first two sons got killed because they weren't so upright, and then he had a third son. Okay, his first son was married to the daughter of a high priest named Tamar. And Tamar lost her husband, and then she did a Levirate marriage to the husband's brother. This was the second son. Okay, he was not a good guy, and he got killed. So Judah says, wait a second. This girl, she wasted 2 of my sons. No, they wasted themselves. But she was really a tzedekah, Tamar. So he sent her home, and he said, put on your black widow clothes and go in your father's house and wait for my third son to grow up. Okay, but he had no intention of giving his third son, Shelah, to Tamar, and she saw that. So what did she do? She fooled Judah. She dressed up as a hooker, and she was on a street corner, and just then he had lost his wife, and he had been without a woman, and Hashem gave him a burning evil inclination. This is Judah. But Hashem gave him a burning evil inclination. This is all to bring Mashiach. You can't even, in the Hasidic yeshivas, they don't know how to teach this. They don't want to teach this to the boys. It sounds like an X-rated movie. This is right in Torah. Okay. So she enticed Judah, and from that relationship, she got pregnant. All right. And she had Zerach and Peretz. Peretz is the great-grandfather of Boaz and the great-grandfather of King David. And from Peretz comes the Messianic dynasty, Mashiach. And we see it. Then David, Hashem has to bring in. Mashiach says to Mashiach, the Yetzer Hara is not letting him come, because the Yetzer Hara goes up to Hashem, and the Yetzer Hara says to Hashem, if you bring Mashiach, then I'm finished. I can't let that happen. So Hashem has to fool Mashiach, and he has to bring Mashiach, has to fool the Yetzer Hara, and bring Mashiach in all types of roundabout ways. This is something. This is what Hashem does to bring Mashiach. So sometimes we see things that are happening that don't look like they're good, but they are good. Like right now, we see COVID-19, the coronavirus. But people up till now, they thought that, oh no, it's the bite of my right hand. It's my business that brings me income. I know in Eretz Yisrael, Baruch Hashem, There was a week of very hot weather and people stopped dying, and the coronavirus got pretty much knocked out. And so Eretz Yisrael right now is coming out of quarantine. But while we're still in quarantine and we're still not back to normal yet, people find that they still have food on the table for Shabbat. They still have fish, they still have wine, they still have challahs, they have meat. Where does it come from? It's not coming from the work. It comes from Hashem. Hashem is showing us all by way of the COVID-19 that Parnasa comes from him. And the Gemara in Tractate Pesachim says that the manna, that the Torah was given to those who eat manna. All right, what does it mean the Torah was given to those who eat manna? Those who eat manna know that no matter what they eat, even though they might get their salary in a paycheck, they might have a business, but they know it's not the paycheck and it's not the business. We all eat out of Hashem's open hand. And that's Poseach et Yadecha u'masbiach al chai v'tzom. This is another thing we learned from COVID. We learned this from Ruth also. Elimelech thought it was his money. No, Hashem says it's not your money, it's my money. Okay. Hashem says, the Novi tells us, Liya kesef v'liya zahav nu Hashem. Hashem says that all the gold is mine, all the silver is mine. So we know we eat something, we have something, every blessing we have in our life. Todos los bendiciones, Hashem. Everything comes from Hashem. Every single blessing in life, every single breath we take. This is another thing we learned from COVID-19. People don't take for granted. I think for the first time in their lives, people say, thank you, Hashem, that I wake up in the morning. Thank you, Hashem, for my lungs. Thank you, Hashem, for my heartbeat. Not this COVID-19 and this respiratory disease. Nobody takes anything for granted. This is what we learned from COVID-19. This is what we learned from the book of Ruth, and this is from Matan Torah. Matan Torah knows that Hashem gives Torah not to the Jewish people, but to every single one of us. This Shavuot is each of our personal renewal of Torah, our personal reception of Torah, where I can see myself in everything of Torah. And then why is something else. Ruth's great-grandson, King David, his yahrzeit is the 6th of Sivan, Shavuot. King David wrote the Psalms. The Psalms is the best-selling book of all of history, Tehillim. And Rabbi Nachman Breslov says that when you read Tehillim, you can see yourself. How come when you read Tehillim, right away you cry, you feel yourself, you feel all yourself. I tell women, I know in Eretz Yisrael, there are groups of Tehillim groups. And women, rather than wasting time on Friday night after they light candles, they get together and they do Tehillim together. And I said, if you read Tehillim, don't put on eye makeup. Why? Because your husband comes home from synagogue on Shabbat and he sees his wife and she looks like Dracula because her eye makeup, those long rivulets like black thing. Because why? So right away, a woman says Tehillim 10 seconds, she's got tears in her eyes. Because she can feel herself, she can feel her children, she can feel her husband. How do you do this? Because King David, he had the neshama of Mashiach. Okay, every single one of us has a spark of King David. What does it mean that every single one of us has a spark of King David? It means that every single one of us has a spark of Ruth. And every single one of Ruth, what's the spark of Ruth and the spark of King David? And we're all great-grandsons of Avraham Avinu and great-granddaughters of Avraham Avinu. We're all salmons. We're all kosher fish. We all have the potential of swimming against the stream. And in order to fulfill our potential, we have to go against the stream. So what does it mean if all of society says, no, you can't be popular unless you wear a tight miniskirt? No, young lady, you don't wear a tight miniskirt because you're a daughter of Abraham, all right? And you have to be modest. What does it mean, modest? Did you see anybody, if you have a broken beer bottle in the street, does anybody go and pick up the glass? But David, what's the difference between a piece of a broken beer bottle and the Hope Diamond? Broken beer bottle is out in the street, broken glass, anybody can kick in, anybody do whatever they want. The Hope Diamond, it's in Buckingham Palace, and it's on display in this big crystal box, and around it there's soldiers, there's bobbies with their big sputtings, and they're protecting it. No, you can't go near, and it's cordoned off. You can see the Hope Diamond from a few feet away, but you can't go closer than that. Why? No one is allowed to touch the Hope Diamond. And that's a Jewish girl. No one is allowed to touch you but your husband. And you're not a broken piece of glass out in the street. You're the Hope Diamond. And that's what we learned from Ruth. This was just like Ruth and Orpah. From Ruth came King David, Mashiach, King David, holiness. From Orpah came Goliath. And she continued on the Moabite tradition. So we see the modesty and the promiscuity. And we see the generosity, Ruth's generosity. She gave up her life to go with her mother-in-law. She gave up her life to go. She could have gone back with Orpah and lived a good life, high society, Melania Trump in the White House. She could have had that kind of life. No, but she didn't. She chose to choose a life of simple holiness. So Ruth did loving kindness with her mother-in-law. She did loving kindness with her dead husband by preserving his name. She did loving kindness by marrying an old man, Boaz. Boaz was an old man. Boaz was in his 90s. The Midrash tells us that the night after the wedding, the night where Ruth became pregnant with Obed, King David's grandfather, Boaz died. Her husband died. So she raised the baby. She had Naomi raise the baby. But this was all for when she was married, really for one night. But more than anything, Ruth did loving kindness with Hashem. It says, Hashem, I love you. And Hashem, I love your people. And Hashem, I love your Torah. And I see the truth of the Torah, the beauty of the Torah. And this world, where people behold beauty, it's not beautiful. I see the inner beauty of Torah. I'm going to cling to this. I'm going to cling to you, Hashem. I'm going to cling to your nation. Ruth had emunah, because without emunah, she couldn't have left world of opulence, world of riches, and stick with her mother. She did everything right. So we have to know one thing. Ruth looked for the truth and went according to the truth. Ruth didn't look according to convenience or political correctness or what other people are doing. When everybody was swimming with the current, Ruth swam against the current. She was a salmon. She was a kosher fish. Just like Abraham, he was a kosher fish. He swam against the current. And like I mentioned in Kabbalah, Ruth had a spark of Abraham. This was passed on to her great-grandson who became Mashiach. And this passed on to us because each one of us has this spark of Abraham, this spark of King David, which is a spark of Ruth. And we have the ability to swim against the current. And when we go against the current, we attain our potential. We cannot attain our potential by going along with the crowd. We're not sheep in a flock. Yes, we are. We have to live a life together with the Kehillah. We have to know that each one of us has to do what's right. For example, the whole synagogue, you go to the synagogue and everybody's talking business and everybody's there and everybody got their cell phones out. Not anymore. You have to be a salmon. No, I am not going to talk in shul. Oh, you're a prude. No, I'm not going to talk shul. This is, we don't have a base of Mikdash. We don't have a temple. This is our holy temple in this generation, our synagogues. I'm not going to talk in shul. Everybody brings in their text messaging. You should be talking to Hashem. I'm not even going to bring a cell phone to shul. I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to do what Hashem wants. And this is every part of our life. Well, when you buy clothes, stop and think. Are you a Hope Diamond? Or are you a broken beer bottle? Okay, this is it. This is it. In order to be a Hope Diamond, you have to go against the current. This is in every single decision we make in life. We have to ask ourselves, am I part of a herd? Am I part of the fish that swim downstream? Or am I salmon that go up against stream? And we know one thing, whether it is with the body or the neshama, how do you build muscle? Resistance. Weightlifting is called resistance training because you make resistance against the muscle and it builds the same thing with building a strong soul. Resistance to the soul. That's why Hashem gives us a Yetzer Hara, an evil inclination to make our souls strong. And this is all for the very best. Okay, in that way, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, that is spiritual resistance training. Hashem gives us resistance to what we do. Hashem gives us resistance to learning Torah. It's not easy. Hashem gives us resistance to doing mitzvahs. It's not easy. But that's just like we have resistance. The heavier the weight, The more pressure in the muscles, the stronger the muscle we build. And this is what we need. To build strong neshamas, we need the resistance. To attain our potential, we have to have resistance. We have to go against the current. This is the law of attraction. This is sort of inner thing, and this is what we learn by the Book of Ruth. So if you really want to attain your full potential, be strong, be courageous. This is what we say, chazak ve'amatz. Don't be scared. Don't let the Yetzer Hara scare you. Don't let people scare you. Do what's right. How do you know what's right? You have to learn Torah. Torah tells us what's right. Baruch Hashem. And with this, I see I'm going to leave some time for questions. There's a lot more to say, but this is the big overview to prepare us for Shavuot. Before I answer questions, I'm going to give everyone every single blessing for a wonderful Shavuot and all your heart's wishes for the best, that the Kehila in Mexico City and our brothers all over the world show only good health and good income, and all your heart's wishes for the best. And we should be Zoicha, we should merit to receive Torah, and hope that Hashem uplifts the whole Kehillah of Mexico City and sets them down in Eretz Yisrael with Beis HaMikdash and Mashiach in our days. Amen. Okay, David, I'm ready to ask questions, okay?
A ver, amigos, ¿alguien tiene alguna pregunta? Anybody have questions? Don't see any questions up right now, Rabbi. So.
Okay, David, tell people that what happens is usually after a lecture, I get 50 emails and with all types of questions, and I can't possibly answer them. And you know, when I used to have my radio program on Israel National Radio, that the producer told me the mouse law. You know what the mouse law means? The mouse law means that if you see a mouse running along the floor in your kitchen, then under the floorboards, there's another 50 mice. Okay, so usually when a person asks a question, it means that another 50 people wanted to ask that question, but they were embarrassed. All right, so don't be embarrassed. Now you have a chance to ask me personally the question, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be about this lesson. It could be anything about Amunah or anything about Shavuot or anything you want. And if Hashem helps me, I'll be happy to answer. Okay?
Okay. I have a question here now, Rabbi. He says, why does good have to come from something that is seemingly not good, seemingly bad?
Okay. This is a wonderful question. And to answer the question, we have to go way back into Kabbalah, and Kabbalah on Breshit. Okay, when we see that Adam could have been born in, and we see everything. One thing we know from the principle of Amunah, the first thing we believe in, the first of our 13 principles of Amunah, Ani ma'amin be'amunah shlema, sheboa yitbarach shemo, u'boa omanhig, that Hashem is creator and director of every living thing. V'hu levado, and he alone will do everything. Okay, Hashem could have prevented Adam from sinning, but Hashem gave him free choice. And once Adam sinned, Adam got kicked out of Gan Eden. Okay, so now Adam is in a situation where he brought evil upon himself by the bad choice that Hashem let him make. Okay, so now he has to work. This is what we're doing on earth. We're doing work. And our work is to correct Adam's sin, where we have to take the good out of the bad. Adam went from the epitome of good, tachlita tov, to the bad. And so everything what we do, when we uplift the good out of a bad situation, we are correcting Adam's sin. And that's why this is intrinsic in creation. This is number one. Number two, if we had everything good and we had an easy life, we would all be far away from Hashem and we'd be arrogant. Hashem doesn't want this. That the whole tachlit, the whole purpose of life is to get close to Hashem. So when we are in a difficult situation, we have to have Hashem's help. This is what Hashem wants. Okay. This is also bringing the good out of a bad situation. And Hashem puts in a situation where I can't do it on my own. I don't have the problem. I can't do it on my own. Nobody can overcome the COVID-19 on their own. Hashem, wow, Hashem, thank you for every day of life. Nobody takes a day of life. I'm alive. Hashem, no COVID. But Hashem, I'm healthy. My family's healthy. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. And why? What's the difference between our life now? How come we didn't say thank you up till now? All right. Maybe because we didn't say thank you for our lives now, Hashem says, oh, my kids don't appreciate their lives. So now I'm going to give them a reason to appreciate their life. Well, you look around, oy vey. And there's this one saying Kaddish and this one saying Kaddish. And here if you know, there if you know. No, it's not automatic that we wake up in the morning. And so people say, Moedani Lefanecha, they learn to say Moedani when they're 4 years old. No more. Moedani Lefanecha, Melech El Chai V'Kayam. Thank you, Hashem. I have another day on earth, another day of life. And this is why we have, just like I said, the resistance. Imagine that the weights that a weightlifter is lifting, this is bad. Okay. Why can't Hashem let him be born with muscles? Right? Would he appreciate his muscles being born with the muscles? No, when you're in the gym and you sweat and you work hard, you appreciate, take care of your health. Okay, if a person had his muscles automatically, maybe eat junk food, maybe do all kinds of things and not good for his body, not good for his neshama. But the fact to be in good health, you have to eat well and take care of yourself. And how you feel much better, your neshama appreciates your muscles better because you earn them, you work for them. The same thing for our mitzvahs, the same thing. And this is why we have to take the good out of the bad. We have to have a resistance. And to understand this, we all understand, okay, the Mundial. All right, suppose Mexico made it into the Mundial. Hola, Hashem, ole. Mexico made it into Mundial. And now Mexico is going to play the finals against England. Mexico against England. Usually it's Argentina or Brazil against England. Okay, Mexico. Wow, can you imagine that? What a festival in Mexico. Okay. Who would watch the Mundial? Would 200 million people watch Mundial if there's only one team on the field and no opposition? No, the whole thing is you got the best two teams in the world. There's opposition. This one wants to go this goal. This wants to go this goal. The same thing with any sports competition. But final heavyweight championship. This is the good and the bad. The bad provides the opposition. We have to strengthen our neshama to want Hashem, to want Torah, to want to do the mitzvah, and this makes us stronger. Okay?
Okay, next question, Rabbi. This is a big one. I think I know the answer, but you'll have to say it. He says this, do you think Mashiach is coming in this time because is Mashiach coming right now because Hashem took us out of Egypt 200 years before, okay, and now we're 220 years before the year 6000.
I don't have to give my opinion. All the greats of this generation, all the Hasidic Rebbes, and even Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky and Rabbi Gershon Edelstein, the heads of the Litvisher world, and all the Sephardi Rebbes, the Sephardi Mekubalim, Rabbi Sion Mustafi, all the great rabbis, they all say Mashiach is fast on the way. Mashiach is fast on the way. And this we could see, this is one of the final tests before Mashiach, because look what Hashem has done with the COVID-19. Hashem has taken away the kochi votzim yadi, the might of my right hand. No. Hashem is showing, no, my sons, parnasa, it's not you, it's me. Your health, it's not you, it's not the gym, it's me. Hashem is showing this, everything is him. Hashem kicked us out of shul, kicked us out of synagogue. I think you're probably still in lockdown. If just in Israel, just Shabbat was the first time we came into shul. We're still in social distancing at shul. And the Melitzer Rebbe's minyan, they're only going to have, in a whole big building, they're no more than 50 people, and then social distancing. And even then 1 million a day, you used to have 1 million after another. Hashem's done everything. You lost your own Beit HaMikdash because this generation of Beit HaMikdash is a synagogue. And now we're all learning, yearning to get back. Everybody misses the community. Hashem says, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been waiting for. And we can see, I could go into one event after another event after another event, but Mashiach's fingerprints are all over the place. The only thing we have to do is to strengthen ourselves and to be worthy of it. One thing I want to clarify, the Gemara in 6 different places, the Midrash in a dozen places says that if a person second guess Mashiach, in other words, if a person makes conjecture, tries to guess when Mashiach is coming, then there's a curse on that. We don't do that. We eagerly wait Mashiach whenever he comes, okay? But we don't do conjecture, we don't bet on a date, we don't say dates, this and that. All the people that say dates, Mashiach's coming this year, Mashiach's coming that year, that's garbage. Don't believe them. Don't believe them. But Mashiach could be here, Bezrat Hashem, by Shavuot. We hope so. We hope that by Shavuot we're all in the base of Mikdash. But this is, we have with simple faith. We go with simple faith and no speculation. This is what you're not allowed to speculate about when Mashiach is coming. But the fact that he's fast on the way, for sure, for sure.
Okay.
Next question, David.
This is not a question just from Jose Masri. He says, Rabbi, this is not a question. He wants to thank you that since 9 years ago, since you've been in Mexico City, that you showed him and all of us the concept of Emunah. And he would also like to tell you that he loves your exercise videos.
Okay, thank you very much, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem, the exercise just goes to show you that you can stay in shape. Doesn't matter how old you are. Keep a smile on your face. The best thing for staying in shape is to keep a smile on your face. Emunah is not only good for the neshama, it's good for the body. And when I tell people my age, they don't believe me, but you could be in good shape. Just think, one thing to stay in good shape is you have to remember that your body is not an end. Western society tells you that your body is an end. No, I don't need big muscles. I need power to serve Hashem. Okay, I have to be agile, serve Hashem, and strong, serve Hashem. Hashem knows I can't do all his mitzvahs unless my body is need a healthy body. Okay, so our orientation in eating and our orientation in working out is so that you have a strong body to serve Hashem. This is the end goal, serving Hashem. This is the end goal. When you say to Hashem, Hashem, I need a strong body to serve you, to do your mitzvahs, you're going to get it. When a woman says, Hashem, I need a strong body so I need a nice body, a slim body so I can wear a bikini in Acapulco, Hashem says, no, young lady, I don't want my daughter to wear a bikini in Acapulco. Okay, so it's not that. If you want, you have to want the right thing. Okay, Baruch Hashem. And before I go, I want to bless everyone. If everyone wants a specific blessing, they don't have to ask a question, David. They get a specific blessing for someone that should be healthy, but I'd give a blessing for all our sick brothers and sisters in Mexico, that they should all have a full and complete refuah, as if I mentioned every single name. And for people that are down and there's no money coming in, Hashem should give you salud, con dinero, con mucho tiempo de gastarlos. Okay? And this is for the whole Kehila. Everybody can understand that. All right? Hashem should give you wonderful parnasa and wonderful health and long lives where you should be able to dance at the weddings of your great-grandchildren. Okay?
Amen.
But if anyone needs a specific blessing, go ahead.
Anybody needs something special? ¿Alguien necesita algo en especial? Okay, there's a lot of people just saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. There's one question very fast. What step can we follow to receive the Torah in these times of COVID? So, we can't go to synagogue. What's a good way to receive it?
Okay, good way to receive Torah. If there's the tikkun, okay, if you could take a rest before Shavuot, finish as much cooking as you can by Wednesday and Thursday at noon. Make sure you take a rest Thursday afternoon. Okay, if you can stay up all night, at least stay up until daybreak and learn Torah all night. It's as if you got it on Mount Sinai. And if you can't do it alone, you can at least with the immediate family, I guess if people are still separate, then they can't, they're quarantined. Okay.
Yes.
Take something in Torah. There's the tikkun where you learn a little bit of all parts of Torah. That's one thing. If not that, I would suggest women, do two things. Learn Tehillim, learn the book of Ruth. Read the book of Ruth, read it, and if you have a Hirush, a commentary on it, it's fun. You'll love it. You'll love it. And especially after hearing this lesson, it's going to come alive for you. For the men, take something in Torah you really love. Take something in Torah. Take your favorite Masechet and learn it. Take your favorite. Learn Navi. Okay, you can learn Navi. You also learn the book of Ruth. Take something in Torah that attracts you, your neshama. There's something all year long you don't have the time to open up. You learn maybe Chumash Rashi and learn Daf Yomi. Take something in Torah that really attracts your neshama and learn it. And this will be your own personal reception of Torah. It'll be a big light in your life.
Okay, Rabbi, there's no more questions. Everybody's just saying thank you so much. Thank you, Rabbi. And if that's it, then I'll see you soon. Mizrat Hashem. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. And it's wonderful to see you, Rabbi. Keep well. God bless. And keep that big smile.
David, todos los bendiciones. And to everybody, Hashem loves you. We love you. And God bless. Have a wonderful Shavuot. And every single blessing in Torah and material and spiritual abundance, and all your heart's wishes for the very best. Amen. God bless and hope to see you soon.
See you. Bye-bye, Rabbi. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you,
Bye.
Rab. Sako Baruch. What a beautiful shiur. Thank you.